Alright. Bake 'em away, toys.
Are we on the internet? Welcome to Colasec for November 2021. Um, it's really weird. This year feels like it's never going to end, and also like it just started at the same time somehow. I don't know what the hell National Button Day is about. I blame Tim. I
It's November 16th. It's National Button Day, man.
I mean,
sure,
we can
but
read, but
but but why?
Why not? I ask you, why not, sir? Why not enjoy Button Day?
Just gonna drink a little bit and gonna move on to the next slide.
Does anybody? I think Sahil's got the only buttons on. No, Corey's got buttons too.
I have a button on my pajama pants, maybe.
Don't stand up.
That's fair and reasonable advice while broadcasting live on the internet. Um, Hi, I'm Adam. These other folks are our co-organizers tonight. I think we have everybody but Jeff, who is indisposed.
Hey,
dealing...
you're short strawing me, man.
Huh?
You said, oh, I am the co-founder here, and then the rest of these shills are co-organizers.
And you're the only one with a fancy name card.
I know.
Wait,
yeah.
Wait a second.
Tim, you are looking for things to get upset about, sir.
No,
this
is the role we're in. You wanted to MC tonight, so I get to heckle.
I thought that you weren't into titles.
And yet, there is his title, all fancy like.
Hey, this organization is one of my proudest achievements.
I think that you need to reevaluate your life.
I kind of agree.
Okay, doctor.
Look, you have children. Be proud of them.
When you found something, you can talk to me.
So, Sir Lang is unfortunately dealing with the fallout from which red team group was that?
I did one of them. I don't know that we want to call out what he's actually patching tonight.
That's fair. That's fair.
One of the many new things that have popped up.
Hey, Virginia Tech is vulnerable for the next 45 minutes. Hack now.
No, they began at 6, so I think you're good.
Oh, did they?
They're no longer vulnerable, so you're good. But we will raise a glass to their patching efforts.
Yes.
Hopefully they are successful.
It's Patch Tuesday, yes.
Thankfully, our presenter didn't get roped into doing any of that work.
Yes, we were thankful for that.
All right, so if you're here, I don't know what good this slide would do for you, since you clearly found us, and this is all the ways you can find us. If you want to join us on Slack, please feel free. We have a semi-active community on there. We have been doing some pruning over the last couple of years.
We have also got
a couple of years, right?
Yeah. Well, we've also got a really kick-ass software composition analysis discussion going on that
Two comments does not a discussion make yet.
I haven't weighed in yet, sir. You can, just hold your horses.
Chop, chop. Get after it.
Well, I have this thing to actually help out.
So Slack's been growing a bit over the past couple of years. We keep making new channels for things and then never using them. So we're in the process of pruning that down. Don't let that alarm you. Slack's not going anywhere. We're just trying to do some housekeeping. So it's not 75 channels. It's only 17.
I've got 3.
We theoretically have a Twitter account. I think it gets used. I don't know. I haven't been on Twitter in months.
We tweet stuff out with it, don't we?
Only through automation. Nothing.
Yeah, I think
human.
It's a pure bot at this point. We've created a Twitter bot.
It's derivative. Is that right? I'm gonna use that word.
I'm good with that word. That's an appropriate word, I think.
I have problems with this word.
Well, give us better words, Jessica.
I have to Google this word.
Are you knitting a sweater? What are you doing?
Jessica, not all of us have been actively engaged in schoolwork and writing papers. Most of us just,
yeah, I guess those
bullshit auditors.
I stopped learning. How old am I? When did I graduate?
You heard
15
it here.
years ago.
Go, whatever David's place of work is, go hack that one because he has stopped learning.
I didn't say I stopped working. I just started learning.
Yeah, right. I said you stopped learning So if you stopped learning, then you don't know new things. Which, I mean,
But
go hack his crap.
on the same token, I do come to Colsec every month and learn about all the new hacks and the things, and so that I can go back to work tomorrow and be like, hey, we need to fix that because I heard about it at Colsec.
Colasec as continuing education.
That's right.
Yep.
And you
But
can,
I would like.
and you can get a CPE for it.
Then
There we
your
go.
statement of you have stopped learning is not factual.
There we go. Something cute for the background of my post to come join us, share your beer. That's what I'm doing right now on camera. Having a nice, lovely pernicious from Wicked Weed. Sorry,
I
Jeff.
got something called a Shin Destroyer. Evil Shin Destroyer.
Ow! Look, my son's doing a fine job all on his own. I don't need any other assistance.
Something called caffeine.
Tuesday News Day. It's actually been not a quiet. It seemed like it was going to be really quiet, and then it decided not to be.
What do you mean it decided not to be?
I mean,
People found stuff. It got on the internet.
Yeah, I was going to
It's
say.
all on fire.
What did I miss?
No, I felt like a week and a half ago we were like, are there going to be news stories? Do we have any news stories? Might be a short news segment. No, not really. It's changed its mind. So this malware found in npm packages. It's in uaparser.js, which is a alarmingly common library used in a lot of web servers to parse the user agent strings from browsers. Was carrying malware for years, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I'm sure I have notes that I'm not looking at.
No. Yeah, when you do presenter view, you can do the notes.
I'm looking at the presenter view. I just also have the news article up because I don't trust your notes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's not a lot of notes in there, anyways.
You should use my notes. All right, they're not many notes. It's
no,
fine.
there's not. I meant to add more. But I was told I was not emceeing tonight, so I didn't bother going and reading the articles. No, there's been so it's not that it's been around for a while. It's just packages that have 6 million to 7 million downloads weekly. Like that's a massive amount of
to fix this, there are only a handful of versions that are impacted. It's literally 3 versions that are compromised, and you upgrade to the next incremental version number, and it's fixed. So, as long as you're not running one of those 3, you're out of the woods. And I think, and it's been a hot minute since I looked at this because this came out at the end of October, but I think if memory serves, the different version numbers, because they look, if you look at them, it's 0.07 something, 0.08 something, and 1.0, but those aren't like radically different. I think I remember those being different platforms that those deploy on, but I could be wildly off base there. So if anybody knows, feel free to correct me.
Yeah. Also, they like this isn't more of a thing that's going to pop up. That's why we're having the software composition analysis discussion. Is there was another news article where COA, and RC had similar attacks, and I'm not going to details on those, but like the problem with this is that it's not just those packages; is that some of these packages can be buried in other packages because they're used as dependencies of dependencies. It gets real messy really quickly.
It does get really messy, and it's very, very difficult to manage if you are doing the scanning to figure out what's in your stuff. Okay, great. You know I've scanned, and the 3 packages that we imported into our code also brought with them 400 other packages. Oh God, help us.
Yep.
Moving on. So the Biden administration is doing some sanctions on, well, not sanctions exactly, right?
They've blacklisted certain. So this is where
they're not buying their spyware anymore.
This is the hacking tools conversation, right? Where there's companies that they actually publicly talk about the fact that they're building hacking tools, and then there's a question around are certain countries that are buying this product to pretty much uh, spy on anybody that would oppose them. I think
I
that's
mean,
probably the most simplest way I can explain that. Right? Is that um, and so there's a question, so they've pretty much blacklisted some of the software from being purchased.
yeah. I'm deeply ambivalent about how effective that's going to be, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big human rights policy thing, right? And it's, you know,
Blacklisting always works.
yeah.
Uh-huh. And also, I'm sure
I,
that
and
stopped all the credit
let's
cards from working at the NSA and the
right.
CIA. And
Well, let's be honest here. It's probably more posturing because yeah,
yeah,
you
this is
blacklist it
saber rattling.
here. It's not. Yeah, it's not necessarily this country that we have to worry about that. Maybe we do,
Yep.
but there are other countries that aren't banning this that still use it, right?
And NSO Group is an Israeli-based operation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
These
I mean,
tools are all NSO Group is.
I'll sit back and wait while the sanctions fall on Israel, right?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good political move. By the way. They make some really good security products too.
They do, yeah. I mean,
So it's not. Yeah.
moving along. So I kind of thought this was going to be the skateboarding dog, but it's not at
There's
the end
the
of the
next
news.
three ones are like all the skateboarding dogs. That's just kind of
Okay,
what
so
we have at this point.
we've got a triple skateboarding dog week. Okay, I'm good with that.
Wait,
If you haven't been,
is this an alternative to the cool wall, the skateboarding dog?
kind of.
No.
How many 1 out of 5? How many skateboarding dogs are you?
We could start doing that.
I-
I like this segment.
so to me, this is a solid 5 out of 5 skateboarding dogs. Um, so if you haven't been paying attention, Squid Game is a show on Netflix that I have not watched, but that is uh, was really popular for like 11 minutes. But somebody decided to spin up a cryptocurrency based on Squid Game. Yeah, and it kind of follows the whole premise of Squid Game, which is sort of a survival horror thing where people are offing one another and intentionally getting tripped into getting killed until there's only one survivor left that gets the winnings at the end. Well, the cryptocurrency had a built-in feature where you could not sell if the currency was in decline. So if it started losing value, you can't sell it. Uh, this was built into the code. And I don't know how the cryptocurrency works. This perhaps is nice to have with the talk that's happening tonight. Not to put you on the spot. Sorry. Um, but anyway, the value of this currency collectively goes up to 3.38 million, and then the founders of the currency pull the plug and walk away with all the 3.38 million, and everybody who had the currency because the currency value was plummeting could not sell it, and they lost all the money they'd put into it.
So I guess that's probably an ICO or the initial coin offering scam.
Hmm.
They offer a coin and then it's based on trust. You just buy it and you keep investing in it, and one day they just go poof. They're gone. Like there's nothing there anymore. So
Well, and
yeah.
in this case, you had to have an extra line of code to be able to sell, which no one had. So they pretty much just had a deposit ICO that
Mhm.
never was able to be sold.
Yeah, you really need version 0.09, not 1.0. The 1.0 is just it's brutal. Anyway, moving on. All right, Tim, I'm gonna let you tell this story because I love
This
the picture you chose.
this I mean, yeah, I was looking for a drone, but yeah, I don't know who brought this up. This is one part of our VPub. That's the second Wednesday of every month. A drone crashed near a Pennsylvania power plant substation last year was likely meant to damage or disrupt the electric equipment, according to a federal law enforcement bulletin obtained by CNN. So now people are using drones to try and attack power substations. They tried to create a short circuit to cause damage to transformers or disrupt lines based on the design and recovery location. which is what the intelligence memo said. The drone appeared to be heavily worn, indicating it was flown previously and was modified for the single flight. So how do you track something like that? Right? You can just,
So I have a series of questions. And first, is this some yokel cop that's like going on some crusade about these kids with their damn drones? Or is this some guy that's got it in his head that the power lines are giving us all 5G coronavirus and is going to end the power infrastructure single-handedly with his magic drones? I just need to know which version of batshit insane this is.
This is more likely some kids trying to get out of going to school. I'm not kidding.
Can't send us to school if the whole damn power grid's on fire.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the least batshit theory, and I like it. That's the one I'm adopting.
Yep.
I have something for this, but it's gonna take me a minute.
Uh-oh.
All right. Do you want us to come back? We'll come back. We'll come right back. Go fetch. Go fetch the bone for the skateboarding dog. Oh, the FBI email server hacks. I don't help Tim.
I don't know what you want help with. I mean, it's that's it right there. So this was a new one. I added this like a couple days ago. So November 12th, so last Friday, tens of thousands of email were sent out, pretty much saying there was a fake cyber attack. It came from eims@ic.fbi.gov. This is essentially someone, because I think they talked to Krebs, which is interesting. And their whole point to talking to Krebs was like, hey, this is how I did it. This is why I did it, is because, the FBI is stupid. Although Corey had a great comment in Slack about, weren't they just like patching everybody's stuff from it's the exchange hack?
Yeah, it was like 9 months ago. I think they were running around patching people's exposed exchange servers or something.
Right. Maybe you guys should look at your own stuff first.
Right. So, and also, Tim, I just want to point out you missed a golden opportunity. Have you ever seen the header for one of the FBI alerts that they send out?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Are you going to reshare your screen?
I'm going to reshare my screen. So bear with me just 1 second.
Jessica, what is wrong?
I just made a mistake. My bad.
Your mistake, body language, is quite impressive. The
there
FBI
it is.
flash. Yeah.
The FBI email server flashing people. Anyway. David, where's your skateboarding dog?
Hey, there's more to this, by the way.
Oh, well.
Do you want to hear about how the attack actually happened?
No, we never want to hear about that here.
So the Criminal Justice Information Service Division is the division that had this email server. It's a law enforcement. It was the Law Enforcement Enterprise Portal called LEAP, LEEP. It's a law enforcement resource site, and anyone could sign up for a free account. So you didn't even need to be law enforcement; you could sign up for an account. There was a one-time passcode leaked in the HTML code, and all you had to do was edit the request sent to the browser, and then script replace the post parameters, and you send out email to everybody.
Oh no! Wait, a one-time passcode leaked in HTML. That, you keep using that word. I'm not sure that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
Didn't we have one last month? They did the same thing.
Yeah.
The teachers hacked the HTML or something.
Yeah. It's almost like,
oh my god,
government websites are garbage and need to all be taken down.
What? So, yeah, they took down the portal while they fixed it.
Did they?
So I'm
skeptical.
So my thought from this, and this is based on watching some of my junior and mid-level pen testers, is they're very good. And this is a tip for a lot of aspiring pen testers or people wanting to get into the field. Um, if you open up DevTools and look at your requests, there's a lot of information there, and oftentimes a lot of that's where they're finding this stuff, man. They're not even using scanning tools anymore. They're looking at code within the website and what they're getting back from requests and responses, and then they're taking some of that information and doing some of this creative stuff that I think is often being overlooked because it's
Just
this is
push F12.
right. Well, and this, yeah, exactly. And this isn't going to show up in a scanner, right? So the government, being the government, they probably have an audit, they probably have compliance, and what they do is they scan their website.
Hi.
Right.
Audit compliance
Exactly.
here.
Yeah.
Everything looks good.
Right, and they're probably hiring some puppy mill pen test company to go test their website if they're even doing that.
Puppy mill pen test.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, we need like bingos. We should start a bingo chart for all the cybersecurity.
No, because then we would intentionally fill it every month. Like that would be the thing. Can we fill the bingo cards?
Yeah, but that could be great for handing out prizes and stuff. So,
do we cover New World at all in this new segment?
We haven't.
No. Go ahead and go to the next slide, which is anything else. In other news,
wait,
Corey.
But David said he had something, and then he's just gone.
Yeah, no, he showed us the drone. He's got the drone from the picture.
Oh, okay.
David did it. Is the answer to the question?
Oh, I couldn't see it.
No, his was intact. His was intact, so it wasn't him.
Yeah, mine is undamaged.
Did he rebuild it?
So I know a tiny bit about this New World thing, but
I've done more research than what is probably warranted.
That's excellent.
I've not actually played the game, just for the record, but so New World is Amazon's WoW clone, right? They're trying to muscle in on that, and so they've been talking about it for a year plus. It was supposed to look really good. It was supposed to be the WoW beater, so on and so forth. Well, they release it, and immediately there are problems. Player economy. The game is playable, but there's issues with just the mechanics. Well, flash forward, a couple of months, the player economy is in the tank. All kinds of hacks and everything have been discovered. And the way these hacks have been discovered is Amazon didn't learn from any other game creator ever, apparently, and put everything client side. So, like, one of the major, hacks for this is if you play in windowed borderless or windowed bordered mode, if you literally just like shake or move the game window, it just ignores damage that's being done to your character. And so like the packets just stack up on the client side, and then if you just keep moving the window, they never process. So that comes into an issue. Apparently there's like major war scenarios or something where you have to take over a territory, and it's like a king of the hill type deal. So one guy like made a Python script that just shakes the window, and ta-da, he's invincible.
Wasn't there also an issue where you could modify a file or something and just grant yourself currency?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, everything's client side. So yeah, there's apparently like money dupes and item dupes and all that kind of stuff. Hence the reason why you don't let the client control those things. You would think 20 years of game dev would teach people that, but apparently not.
Amazon hired the cheapest developers they could find and then turned them into robots.
Oh my. Fun stuff. Anybody else do any other organizers have any news stories? No? Cool. All right, Tim, I think you are up.
Hooray.
Do you want to just switch presenters?
That or yeah, I have it up unless you want to pull it up.
I don't have it pulled up, so if you'll go ahead and I'll stop and you'll start. This will be the first time we've juggled presenters. That's delightful.
The drone. Nice. You're muted.
Oh.
She had a good quip.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna repeat it.
Okay. All right, which one do we want to go over? We got Hafnium,
Go morosely close some tabs.
the Twitch breach, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware, Stuxnet, Sony, or B-Sides. We can do all of them. I don't care.
My vote is Sony, and I'm leaning toward uncool just because.
I am actually saying seriously uncool.
Very good. Nope, no argument.
Because just because because of a movie got released, you're really gonna go hack an organization. Now, Sony, well, because I'm trying to think of it towards uncool now because like there was a lot of stuff we learned about Sony at that point. Not just about the projects, but about some of the awful.
Shockingly,
executives.
movie producers are assholes.
Right. Which maybe makes it even more seriously uncool, right? There's just uncool all around with that. But I just think at the end of the day, hacking. And I think also the security community got it wrong because they're like, yeah, of course it's North Korea. You don't know it's North Korea. And then it ended up being like 3 years later, oh, yeah, it was North Korea that did it because they had a grudge against. What was the movie called? It was
Saving Private Ryan.
No, they try to assassinate. It's got not Sean Green, Seth Green, and James Franco go to the interview.
Seth Meyers.
No,
that's
no,
right.
That's the other stuff. Yeah.
The interview. They go
Seth
to
Rogen, not Seth Green.
Seth Rogen. Sorry, they go to assassinate the North Korean dictator.
Also, that one's coming from way back.
Yeah, I fell asleep for an hour.
It's a very snoozeworthy movie.
Yeah, I fell asleep during the middle of that damn movie.
Mm.
I woke up to them doing something with a bed, and I don't know. All right, we got Hafnium.
I want to talk about the pipeline.
Okay, let's talk about the Colonial Pipeline. So for people that don't remember, I don't know how you couldn't. It was back in March or April or something.
Calling it cool.
Where the Colonial Pipeline, which serves gas from Texas to like the Northeast, was ransomware. Now their payment of system was ransomware, which means they could still flow gas, but they couldn't pay and they couldn't charge anybody for it. So they essentially shut down operations for 7 days, which then led to a run on gas and plastic bag memes and all sorts of stuff that people were trying to just dump all their gas into. I wonder if people still have gas.
Wait, they could move gas. They just couldn't get paid for it. So instead of continuing the flow of gas and just clicking the button that says "Bill me later," they decided to stop.
But that "Bill me later" button was also ransomed. So I mean, ransomed.
That's fine, but can you not just I don't know?
No, dude, that's big money.
Use an abacus and just count.
I thought hang on now. I thought damn it. The control equipment was also ransomware.
I thought the control equipment was also ransomware.
My understanding was payment, but there's a lot of articles that came out.
No, I'm pretty sure that the command and control is the wrong word. What? Help me, Jessica.
The control interface, the ability to the ability to control was an issue because they were talking about
which granted I think they had that back repaired within 12 or 13 hours of the original. They just flipped everything to manual, but
and maybe that was it. They fixed that fairly quickly, but they had still 7 days of the pipeline being down.
Yeah, did cause tons of disruption. I'm saying it's a cool hack just because of the amount of impact it had.
Why? It wasn't a cool hack though. It was an unknown VPN where they logged in with reused credentials.
Yeah, it's dumb and easy and simple and caused stupid amounts of chaos in the real world.
That's uncool though. That's not. that's nothing interesting about the hack. It put,
I beg to differ. That was a
I don't think
tremendous amount of.
No, that's not a cool hack.
No, it is. It is cool. It is cool because, like, think about it. It highlights the importance. Once again, it brings to the forefront the importance of these not controlled entities and their shitty security practices. We all know, hey, unused accounts probably ought to disable the credentials, but people aren't even doing account reviews
But they
or
are
rotating credentials.
But they are regulated. They're regulated by the TSA.
Right.
Which
But
is also
there's
another. If we're talking about the TSA, that's almost an immediate uncool. You can't.
But here's
disagree
the
with me, can you?
no, but okay, but here's the thing. Yeah, sure, there's industries that are regulated, but they're not. Their IT infrastructure, their security, none of that's regulated. Show me where they come in and say, "Hey, let's do an assessment on your security, and you need to adhere to this NIST baseline
where's
or
McKenzie
CIS
at?
benchmarks."
I feel like if we say Mackenzie's name 3 times, because these are ICS controls, right?
Yeah.
Well,
But this
Right.
wasn't the ICS control system. Again, it was like, I mean, the part you guys were talking about was, but this was like point of sale systems at Ransom.
So I would assume that the pipeline would be covered under CIP, Critical Infrastructure Protection, which is basically the way I've described it is basically baby NIST, right? Like it's a couple of years behind NIST, and most of it applies to those ICS systems that you're talking about. Now, in the funny thing is they put all this protection and governance around those ICS systems and those controls, but then, like y'all are talking about, the IT portion of that, so the people that own the VPN that allows you access to those ICS systems, and I guess for Jessica's sake, I shouldn't call it an ICS system, but to those to those access points, that's owned by IT and is not covered under CIP necessarily. It's weird. Like there's a break point in there where like CIP applies, but IT doesn't do CIP, so another group has to take control of it and do it. So it's probably lost in translation somewhere between those two groups.
I think any hack that's going to bring that specifically to the forefront and show, like, hey, we have a huge deficiency here for protecting. I mean, like, what comes next? An attack on an ISP? Like, I mean, seriously.
I mean,
I think it's cool.
ISPs are already attacking individuals. They're already hacked. BGP.
I say uncool. Uncool.
Yeah, I'm going uncool. We're going uncool next.
Fucking orangutans.
Well, you didn't want to run the board, so guess who gets the final choice?
Yes, but I have access to the board. I can move it later.
I can wait.
I can come back after you've left the studio.
That would be seriously uncool.
And now he's been removed.
We've got auditing and logging turned on. We have been doing it.
We have removed the attacker from our board.
Fucking asshole.
We have cleaned up our unwanted technology.
All right.
All right.
Move on for the evening.
I don't want to play anymore.
I don't want to play anymore either.
Right.
Also, we're running out of
one.
time here. All right. Sharing
That
my
was a fun
screen again.
discussion,
All right. Moving on from the cool wall. Mental health hackers. I just got out of therapy today. I highly recommend going and visiting a therapist.
Was this your first time, or have you been going for a while?
I've been going for a while. Been going for a year and change now.
That's good.
Have you met Adam? Like, come on.
Yeah, but he told me he was like, I was complaining to him, sending him gifts and other things about work. That's why I'm so tired right now, and I just want to drink. As I was talking to Adam, and he's like, so I didn't know he was going to therapy, which was a bit of a surprise to me. But I think and I think that's something that probably a lot of people. I think it's good, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any. I just thought it was really cool, and I could totally see why Adam does it, having been friends with him for several years and actually working with him for 3 years.
Look, I just want to say there's very few people that I can ramble and complain to without restraint.
Mhm.
I will happily pay somebody to do that at them.
Well,
Let's be honest.
Well, here's the shocker. Adam's my therapist. So
That's boy, are you getting screwed?
I know. Well,
You're paying me way
I'm
too
getting,
much for that privilege.
I'm getting what I pay for, which is nothing.
That's correct.
So, no, I think mental health is a good thing. It's become more highlighted with the pandemic and people working from home. I know we're dealing with it at work. I don't go to therapy, but I have picked up stoicism, which has helped me tremendously. And I think a lot of what Adam and I were talking about in text messages is applicable to stoicism. He talked about reframing things, that bother you, which is totally, what you can do. So I've really worked on my mental health for the last year plus. I've almost been doing it for 2 years now at this point because I realized that was a problem. So I mean, essentially, mental health is a thing. Take care of yourself. Therapy's good. What is this? Removed you from? Yeah, you didn't see me do it when I shared the
I
screen.
watched you do it. I'm just sad. Just sad. You made me sad, Tim.
But yeah, get help, get whatever, and this might work for you. If not, therapy might work for you. If not, stoicism might work for you. If not, talking to friends might also work for you. So there's a lot of options out there. You got to do what's good for you.
My friends have too many opinions to talk to those assholes.
We also have a doctor on staff too,
guys.
so you guys can also email Jessica Butel at colasec.org.
It's just Jessica. It's first name. Isn't it first name? Pretty sure it's just first name.
Have you not
I
grabbed
know.
the Dr. Jess yet?
We don't use those emails.
Jessica.
I have that domain name, Dr. Butel. I have the domain name Dr. Butel.
Very good.
.com and .net.
All right. Rolling right on in. So tonight's speaker, brought to us by Mr. Jeff Lang, who can't be with us unfortunately, but Sahil Dadani, did I get that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yay.
You should have told him no. Just
You
cut.
should have. You should have.
And then pronounced it the exact same way and be like, no, it's this. And then, oh my God, you would drive him insane. Missed opportunity.
Yeah, you've really got to get into the spirit of trolling other people at Colasec. That's what it's all about.
CAC
This
card.
is a safe trolling
ICS
community.
system. Social security SSN number.
Oh,
ATM
Jesus.
machine.
Right?
Yay.
GIF.
So from the security team at Virginia Tech, you work with Jeff, right?
I mean, I don't directly work with Jeff. It's just that we're in the same office. I'm part of the lab. So we have the lab and office concept where lab students work with the office, but my area is not directly like vulnerability assessment or something like that. I work in forensics. So I work with Beth Lancaster, who's at the office. So yeah, I know Jeff.
Yeah, I would avoid working directly with Jeff if I could help it too. So, anyway, thank you for coming and talking with us tonight. I
Sure.
won't read the slide at
Mhm.
everybody,
Sure.
just because you have your own eyeballs.
Mhm.
And it is time. We will leave this slide up and we'll go for a brief intermission. And then when we come back in 3 minutes,
Sure.
I'm assuming that's how long it's going to take me to grab a couple slices of pizza and more beer. We will get started with the presentation.
Mhm.
Woohoo!
All right.
right. We are back and ready for our main event.
Can you all see my screen?
We can. Current
Okay,
state of
sure.
cryptocurrency forensics.
So let me know when to start.
Yep, take it away, Sahil. You are good to go, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Adam, and everyone else for having me here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sahil, and I am a PhD candidate at the IT Security Lab at Virginia Tech, and I work in mobile forensics or digital forensics, and my current area of focus is cryptocurrency forensics, and I'm trying to like get started in that area. So if I don't know anything and you know more about it, just chime in. I'm happy to hear what you have to say. And if you have any questions, you can again chime in between or ask me questions at the end, however you like it.
Is
I
your
don't know what Jeff has told you about us, but you're going to be teaching
Wait,
us things.
I have a
is
question.
Sure.
Have you written anything that's been published?
No, not yet.
Dang it! So you want to like collapse?
Jessica, stop.
What? He said any questions. I have questions.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't know about the and see I'm interrupting before he really gets his flow on.
Hmm.
Um I don't know about how like the PhD is, but I know within the DS like there's actually been quite a bit of pressure
Hmm.
to hurry up and get yourself published in something talking about something.
Right, that's
And
right. Yeah.
it's really intimidating because we've actually got some people in our program that are like, I don't know, this is their second or third terminal degree, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
Right, right. I understand the pressure. I have something lined up, but not sure when it's going to be published.
Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah. Thanks. So I'll dive right in. So I'll start off by talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain, like the basics. And this is probably going to be a major part. And then I'll start off with the need for cryptocurrency forensics, basically the different crimes or any other issues that are pertaining to cryptocurrency that are driving the need for cryptocurrency forensics. Um, then I'll talk a little about the current state of cryptocurrency forensics, where we have some digital evidence from the past papers that seems to be a little lagging behind in the current scenario. And in the conclusion, I'll talk how uh, everything connects, and we really need cryptocurrency forensics. So diving right in here, you'll see this is a basic representation of like the need for cryptocurrency forensics, wherein illicit activities like darknet marketplaces, money laundering, and theft of cryptocurrency, or maybe like initial coin offerings that we just talked about, are actually driving the need. And in the current state of cryptocurrency forensics, we have interagency investigations, but they aren't going too well because interagency communication is always an issue, and it's divided into multiple areas where it's forensic accounting, digital forensics, and clustering heuristics specifically for attribution. So if you want to tag a set of addresses as malicious, that's where attribution tagging comes in, and that's basically the current state of cryptocurrency we have. Next, I'll start talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain. So, what is a blockchain? It's a digital ledger, and it can be used to store anything. It's not necessarily used for storing cryptocurrency or any other form of payment. It can be used for healthcare or digital contracts or even voting. And as you see, like automotive, in case of automotive, self-driving vehicles could be communicating and transacting with each other. That communication could be a transaction, and it could be stored in the blockchain for references. And even like digital contracts, or if you want to lease a car or something, that digital contract could be up there in the blockchain and be stored there permanently without being modified. So there's a less chance that anybody can actually, there's no chance that anybody can ever modify it unless there's a 51% attack on the blockchain. So all the information is encrypted. Basically, it's hashed, and all you see is hashes. You won't see any actual data, uh, uh, like in a particular transaction or a contract, you won't see the data. You'll just see the hash. It's a peer-to-peer network, so it's kind of decentralized. I'll take three and five together and say like, okay, since it's peer to peer, it's decentralized. There is no central authority like a bank or something involved in between verifying transactions or basically maintaining the ledger. The ledger is all public and it's available online, but it's verified by each and every person, or if I say that correctly, 51% or slightly over 50% of the network verifies the transactions or verifies the blocks, and it becomes a public ledger for everyone to view. So it's more like everybody on the network is trying to verify a particular thing, so there is more trust as compared to just one entity such as a bank trying to verify and maintaining the ledger. So if a bank, if somebody wants to change something in the ledger to maybe bypass an audit or something, in that case it's possible. But changing anything in the blockchain, that's next to impossible because you'll need the consent of the whole network or 51% of the network. And that's where it seems more secure, and people trust it more than just like trusting a single entity. And I
Is it?
guess I'll just move on to the next slide and discuss what is cryptocurrency.
Are
So,
there theoretical attacks where someone like a big nation state could theoretically gain 51%?
the 51% attack is pretty interesting because theoretically it's possible and it doesn't take too much money. Like maybe back in 2014, it took $20 million to do a 51% attack on the blockchain. So any soccer star or any millionaire or billionaire could just do a simple 51% attack. So it's
Yeah.
not as simple as it seems because the amount of processing power involved, you can probably like pay for electric service, you can pay for the processing power, but having that processing power together in a place, or like getting that much processing power at an instant, isn't possible. It's like petaflops worth of processing power. So
Oh.
mostly like the exchanges and the entities involved with cryptocurrency try to have a pact with the firms that are basically generating the ASICs, or the miners or any other form of processing power to release the processing power in a way that 51% attacks cannot happen.
Okay.
Yeah. And I what I feel is that, and what I've read is that in case of a 51% attack, you can temporarily take over the network and try to maybe double spend your coins. But once the network regains, like once you lose your 51% thing, then they can probably go back and they'll have to change the whole blockchain or something, which is again impossible. And then there are a lot of factors in there that play a role. So
Hmm.
anything beyond a 51% attack, I'm not sure what would happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So, cryptocurrency is basically a digital form of money. It's just code. There is no actual money involved in it. It's based on trust, and it's a bunch of hashes. Um, it's monitored by a peer-to-peer internet protocol. That's the blockchain, and it's just encrypted string of hashes and encoded to signify one unit of currency, basically. So, if you say one Bitcoin, that means it's a unit of currency, or one Monero or Ethereum. Uh, Currently, the Bitcoin market capital is about 127 billion, and for that, for Ethereum, is about 24, and XRP has about 18 billion worth of market cap. Next, I'll talk about how cryptocurrency evolved over the years. So it was introduced in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's not Nagamoto if you got it right. It's just that I got that was the best graphic I got. So yeah, you have a question, Adam?
If I can figure out how to come off mute. Um, so um, the market cap for those different currencies is different, right? Does that have any relation at all to the size of the network, the number of uh, devices involved in calculating hashes, or is that purely just a function of?
So the market capital that you see here is just based off of the US dollar value of the cryptocurrency in the current state, and it's definitely based on the network in terms of the fact that the number of coins mined and the number of coins available to be circulated in the market. So uh, that's basically it. It's just the dollar value.
So
The size of the network and the size of the blockchain would be described in terms of like gigabits.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's not necessarily a direct relation to the amount of computing power that is currently being brought to bear to develop new coins.
right.
It's more nuanced
Because
than that.
the number of coins that can be generated in a particular time is limited, so it's not directly related to the number of coins.
Like there's a cap on because Bitcoin is completely mined out. What currencies left still have
It's
coins that can be mined?
So Bitcoin isn't currently totally mined out. It's just
Oh,
that the difficulty level of the network is so much that if you try to mine Bitcoin alone, you won't be able to do it. And if you join a group of miners, the it's basically the reward for mining Bitcoin right now is so low that it probably like your electric bill would probably be higher than the reward. So
what is um what is the most profitable coin to try and mine right now?
that is a good question, but I don't know the answer to it. Yeah.
Because I know there are some that they're saying, hey, everything that's been mined is already been mined.
Right. So if you
I
if you want to mine like Monero, the good part about mining Monero is that they do not like ASICs miners or basically miners who have a lot of processing power, so that the miners that do not have processing power get equal chance. So Monero is one of the currencies that you can still mine and maybe just mine with your computer like CPU or GPU. It's not based on any ASICs mining, which is the current thing going on in
It,
Bitcoin.
there was a piece of malware for Synology network attached storage devices that was mining Monero. It was literally they would go and compromise your Synology and then use it to mine Monero because it doesn't care what processor it's running on, and
Right.
it is those things are dirt slow. That I've got one right here. I love that Synology, but it's not a powerhouse of computing. But
Right.
anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the good part about Monero, that even being a miner who's like alone or don't have any other person and you have limited processing power, you got a chance. So cryptocurrency was introduced basically in terms of it was not just Bitcoin. Way before that, the concepts had started, but the first cryptocurrency that was launched was Bitcoin, and it was introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. Uh, so the smallest unit of Bitcoin is one Satoshi, which is 1 by 100 million of a Bitcoin. So basically, you can transact up to 1 by 100 million. You're not like bound to just transact one single Bitcoin. You can divide it into multiple parts. And in August 2017, the Bitcoin value rose up to like 2500 globally, and the rest is history. Like now you see it was close to 60 and then 40 and then 30. It's based on like regulations. Every time Bitcoin rises, somebody tries to pull it down and then it goes back up. So, and the demand for cryptocurrency blockchain developers has increased at about 621% from 2015 to 2017. And that's a major increase because a lot of firms are trying to invest in building their own blockchains. Some are successful, some are not. And the Ethereum wallet and the Bitcoin wallet are the two most downloaded digital currency wallets in the world around the 2017 era. And it's the number is growing at like 175,000 wallets a day. And as the demand for cryptocurrency developers increased, a lot of people were inclined towards going into cryptocurrency development, and people started job search in that area, and that increased by about 1056%. And about 23.4 million distinct Ethereum wallets or addresses were available in 2017, and about 21 million Bitcoin wallets. So this is the whole picture of the evolution of cryptocurrency, how it all started. Uh, I'll talk about how a basic transaction is done. I might refer Bitcoin and cryptocurrency interchangeably, even though they're not exactly. I mean, it's Bitcoin is just a type of cryptocurrency. So if I want to transfer a particular amount to a particular person, I would first install or download a wallet. It could be a cold wallet. I could just have an address. I can generate a random address and have a wallet. Uh, I would install the digital wallet in a particular place, or I could just use the cold wallet. But if I want to transfer money to someone from a wallet, I need to get it online. So once I get it online, either through an exchange or any other third party service, I would request the transfer of coins to another user, and that information, like the public address of the receiver, the public address of the transactor, and the amount, and like all other things related to it would be sent to the network. It's basically one transaction would be sent to the network. Then the network would try to verify a block, and the particular transaction would be part of that block. So a block, like in the current scenario, the last block that I saw contained about 1600 transactions. So until they stack up 1600 transactions, the verification won't start because the block, a particular hash for the block wouldn't be generated. So once the network gets the information one for one full block, they try to like mine it, basically try to verify the hashes for that particular block. And once they do the proof of work and find the closest hash, uh, the proof of work is done, and successfully, like there's a successful validation of that block, they would go ahead, basically the person who successfully validated the block or the group who successfully validated the block, they'll go ahead and add the block to the blockchain. And that's when the transaction is complete and the receiver would receive the coins or the amount of money that was supposed to be sent to them. uh, if we discuss about the dynamics of blockchain, on the left is like basic code or classes for developing a blockchain yourself. So you would probably define a new block which would contain transactions. Uh, you would define new transactions that eventually go into the blocks. You will define hashing a block, which is that function basically hashes, uh, like takes whatever is in there in the block as an input, the transactions, uh, the Merkle root, and any other information that is present, and runs it through a SHA-256 algorithm for in case of Bitcoin, and converts it to a hash for the particular block. And the last block function would just return the address of the last block, which must be included in the new block. So on the right, you'll see this is how a sample block that was designed could look like. Like you have this block just contains one transaction, and it has a sender. It's This is the address, the public address for the sender. This is the public address for the recipient, and that's the amount. And this amount could be like 5 bitcoins, 5 Monero, or five anything. Like it could be $5 if you're transacting in terms of dollars and converting to coins. This is the proof of work, or probably the nonce, which would eventually lead to the hash of the current block, and this is the hash of the previous block. So I'll give you an overview of how a block looks in the blockchain. This is a real block which was mined yesterday, and here you can see this is the hash for the block, and the number of leading zeros it has decides the difficulty of mining. So more the number of zeros in the hash, more difficult it is to mine, or basically find a proof of work. Only one miner confirmed this block. So uh, in terms of like reaching the right proof of work or solution, uh, only one miner could reach this. But still, it's not like one person is or one miner is verifying the transaction. It's just that one of the miners could only confirm the hash, the rest of the network could only get close to it, and basically verify the hash that way. Here's the timestamp. The height is the number of the block. So basically, there are 700,929 blocks in the system since like nine, that many blocks before this block, because the number of blocks started zero, and the zeroth block, or the first block for Bitcoin, was mined by probably Satoshi himself. And oops, I'm sorry.
So going back to that example, what there's only one confirmation. What is that normal or
So
normally you need more
it
than that?
there I have seen like different types, maybe like four confirmations or five confirmations. So it does not refer to the network, as in whether it was verified by the network or not. So
Mm.
proof of work for blockchain doesn't exactly work as you find the exact hash. So if you look at this number right here, nonce,
Mhm.
it's a like one time use number, or random number generated by miners, and maybe they start counting at 700 million, and they count up to 715,723,708, and that's when like it's connected to the hash, and they try to find the exact hash. But the number of people who can confirm the hash is very low, because like here only one person confirmed the hash. The others only got close to it. But even getting close to it and doing the proof of work verifies the transaction or the block. So if you would like to know the exact dynamics, I can discuss this further. But even I'm not totally sure of how this happens. Like I know that the nonce is really important in getting to the hash, but how the nonce exactly, like they start counting, basically the processors or the ASIC start counting from 700 million and go up to 715, and the faster they count, the whoever gets there first gets to solve the hash or gets the hash. I Beyond
Hmm.
that, how it really works in the back end, I don't know about that because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
that's what's so interesting. It's so mysterious, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's hard to really understand without like really jumping
right,
in and dedicating a lot of time to it like you are.
right, that's true. So here you can see the name of the miner is unknown. They want to be anonymous, so it's not known. But all of this is still public ledger, and you can just have a look at the hash. You can, if you want, you can verify the hash. And here you see the difficulty. So this basically represents the num the petaflops, or basically the processing power that is required to solve this particular block, and they define it in terms of a number. Um the Merkle root is an interesting thing, because the Merkle root is used to store transactions within a block, and We'll talk about this more in the next few slides. And uh, this is the size of the right here is the size of the block, which is about 1 MB, and with about 1600 transactions, that comes down to, I guess, a zero point 0.6 KB transaction. So basically, a transaction is just a hash, and that hash is maybe like zero point 0.6 KB. And if you keep adding the hashes, you get a 1 MB block. And once the so if you would see the number of transactions in each block, they could vary because the size of a transaction could vary based on the size of the hash. And uh, the uh, the the block size, it's limited by it's limited to maybe 1 MB. So as soon as they reach 1 MB, they'll go on, cut off the number of transactions in that block there, and then try to verify that block. And the other transactions that come up after that would go into the next block because the previous block was full in terms of size.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the transaction volume in terms of Bitcoin. There were about 44,475 Bitcoins transacted in this single block, and the block reward was about 6.25. So what that means is that uh, whoever actually verified the hash for this block got a reward of 6.25 Bitcoins. And
Holy
so
cow.
yeah, so it won't probably be a single person. It would be a group of miners. And if you want to join a mining group, uh, you pay you pay some fees to join. Then you provide processing power from your end. You join the pool, the miners pool, and maybe say you provide like 2% of the mining pool power. So when they get the reward, you'll probably get 2% of that,
That's
minus the fee.
$7,500.
But you might be spending more than that in electricity. So
Well, yeah, I mean that's
yeah,
I don't know how much if you got 2% of that reward, how
right.
much computing power would it take you to, be part of that 2% of that mining group? That's yeah, that's
So
woo.
it's all dependent on the difficulty, first of all, and the amount of time it takes to solve a particular block, like to provide proof of work for a particular block. If it takes too long, more power it takes. If it takes like maybe 10 minutes to verify a block, then you use less power. So it's all dependent on the network, the difficulty, and everything.
Yeah.
And so the fee reward was 0.08. So it was not just 6.25, it was 6.25 plus 0.08. So 0.08 Bitcoin is basically the total transaction fees charged on 1654 transactions for all the transactions done in this particular block. So that fees was also transferred to the miner. So coming to like dynamics of blockchain and Merkle trees, don't mind, this GIF is gonna go on in a loop. So I'll just keep explaining. So if you download a Linux distribution, say which is 2 GB in size, um, it'll be divided. You can probably divide it into 8 different blocks of 250 MB each. You hash the first two blocks together, the next two blocks, and so on, and you get the next set of like you get a set of hashes for. So first of all, if you hash block one alone, you get a hash. You hash block two alone, you get a hash. For each block, you get a hash. Then you combine the hash for one and two and get a hash for one and two. You combine the hash for three and four, get a hash for three and four, and similarly for five, six, and seven, eight. And after that, in the next step, you get a hash for one, two, three, four, and five, six, seven, eight, and then finally you get the Merkle root, which is the hash for all of them combined together. So this is one of the data structures that is used for a lot of purposes, and it's also used in Bitcoin because it's you don't have to eventually verify each block. You can just go back and verify where the hashes stop matching, and that's when you get like, okay, this block might be corrupted. So I'll move forward to the next slide and we'll talk about this further. So there was a word like "hi there, silly boy." It's a sentence. You divide it up into four words, and you get hash for each one. And if you want to backtrack whether the word "silly" was actually hashed correctly or not, or transferred correctly or not, you try to see who's the neighbor for "silly." You get the hash for that. All the neighbors for "silly" say, so silly and boy would get um, you use those two hashes to go on to the next level and try to verify whether silly was actually there or not, and whether it was corrupted or not. And yeah, you just verify that, backtracking from the Merkle root and going down to the neighbors. And yeah, so I can better explain that here, where say out of the eight blocks, one of the blocks was corrupted. So when you backtrack the hashes and say the hash for this one, you try to generate hashes for all the eight blocks, and you see that the Merkle root doesn't match. When you see that the Merkle root doesn't match, you go back tracking and see that, okay, the Merkle root, the hashes here are totally fine and they match. But if you go to the right side and see, okay, this hash doesn't match. So you just leave this part alone because you know all of these four blocks were transferred correctly, and you just go to the right section, the right four blocks from 5 to 8, and you try to verify where the issue was. Then you backtrack again and see 5 and 6. The hash for 7 and 8 is perfectly fine, but the hash for 5 and 6 does not match. And that's where you're like, okay, block 7 and block 8 are fine, and I don't need to look in here. And from here, you just look into block 5 and block 6, and the hash for block 6 is perfectly fine, but the hash for block 5 is corrupted maybe by a bit or something. And you know that, okay, block 5 was corrupted, and you just download block 5 for 250 MB rather than downloading the whole 2 GB distribution. And that's where it's pretty useful in blockchain, where if you want to verify things and if something goes wrong, you can just backtrack without using as much power as it would take to verify all the hashes, or maybe downloading everything again. You can just verify a particular transaction and move forward from there, and say, okay, you can correct this part. So this is a representation of the Bitcoin blockchain and how it works with the Merkle root. So all the transactions eventually reach, like, you just keep hashing the transactions and get a Merkle root. You have the hash for the previous block, and the next block, you won't have the hash for the next block initially, but you'll eventually get it after the next block is mined. So you combine all of that, get a hash for that block, and just send it out to the network to verify. So next we have like Bitcoin blockchain, and these are some stats about the Bitcoin blockchain. So as of like February 2021, the Bitcoin blockchain was about 320 GB, which constitutes about 10 billion transactions over the past 11 years. So we definitely know that Bitcoin is in a lot of use, and the use of cryptocurrencies on the rise, and there could be issues related to that. And that's where we come to the need for cryptocurrency forensics. So if you look at this illustration, we see that most of the things that we browse belong to the surface web, which is being Google, Wikipedia, or anything indexed by a search engine. And beyond that, and that's just the tip of the glacier, as you can see. And beyond that, when we move to other stuff, which is deep web, it contains a lot of, it may or may not, so deep web may or may not contain a lot of illegal stuff, but it can contain information that is not indexed by any other search engine on the surface web. And you could get more information out of it, or just dig deeper. And then comes the dark web, where most of the illegal transactions happen, like like drug trafficking or private communications, the darknet markets or the dark web markets, where you can buy illegal stuff without being detected by law enforcement, because you'll mostly be using a Tor browser, and getting in and out of the Tor browser is all the information that your IP can store. Beyond that, the number of hops that you make inside the Tor browser, or what's going on inside the Tor browser, is nothing anybody knows about. It's actual incognito, not like the one we have. Like yeah, so the thing is that somebody might just be using the dark web for scanning, like for checking on what's going on in there. Like credit card companies state that we monitor the dark web for your information or your social security or something like that. So that could be one of the things that somebody would hop onto the dark web for. But a lot of people use it for illegal activities, and most of the times dark web would involve cryptocurrency transactions because they're mostly anonymous, and that's where the need for cryptocurrency forensics comes in. So these are screenshots from some of the darknet marketplaces where you can get some illegal stuff, and you can see you have Nightmare, you have Agora and Wall Street Market, and you also have Alphabay, which was seized in 2014 by the FBI. Like it was a joint task force that seized Alphabay, and there were a lot of seizures that were happening during the 2014 time. A lot of websites were seized. Uh, so here you can see that after 2014 there is a dip, like around 2015, 2016, when the FBI hit a lot of darknet marketplaces. There was a drop in the volume of transactions across like 2019, but the amount that was transferred over darknet rose to like almost 800 million in 2019. So even if the number of transactions decreased, the amount that was transacted to dark web just increased manifolds, and that is concerning because most of the darknet market revenue goes to funding illegal activities or maybe buying illegal stuff. So that's really concerning for law enforcement. And in the next graph that we see here, we can see that even though darknet, like it's just a minor part of what's going on with in terms of cryptocurrency, it's still majorly alarming for law enforcement because it's almost like $500 million worth of transactions happening on the darknet, even though the exchanges are all the way up in the 1,200 million range. $500 million over the darknet and illegal activities is still a concerning point. And if you see on the left, we see like 500 millions. It's just $500 million transacted through the exchanges, through the official exchanges over the darknet market. And on the right, you'll see that it's slightly over $5 million of transactions that happened without the exchanges, without any official exchanges. So the difference here is that in case of an exchange, you can probably subpoena the exchange like a bank, like with no real decentralization lying here or no anonymity, because exchanges require you to provide an ID. They need your social security, so they know who you are. So if an address is linked to you, the exchange knows it's you, and they can probably provide information to law enforcement. But in case of third party services which do not require any kind of ID, uh, there were about maybe like 6 or 7 million worth of transactions that happened over the darknet through third party services, and those are the ones that concern us the most.
Yeah, I know to buy and sell crypto, you have to upload, at least through the legit apps, you have to upload like your driver's license or some kind of identity
Right.
information to verify. But yeah, if they're doing this much volume of, illegal activities, and they're finding other ways and not having to, connect their identity to it.
Right.
Well, part of the reason that they started requiring those things, David, is because of the tax implications. So
Mm,
now
Yes.
they're actually attaching like you have to pay taxes when you profit off of Bitcoin.
gotcha.
Right.
I'm new to it, so I don't know the history of it.
Yeah. So a lot of people use crypto for tax fraud, so that yeah, they'll just keep transferring their money from one wallet to the other and become untraceable. And yeah, you
Mm.
can't charge them, like you can't hook them up for tax fraud.
Oh wow.
I
So
haven't figured it out yet, but I mean, people do it. Just not that good.
right. So, cryptocurrency has been involved in a lot of illegal crowdfunding and money laundering. So, there are a lot of activist groups. One of them is Lulzsec, which received about $18,000 in bitcoins from anonymous donors. And even though they put it out on the internet stating that they received money, but nobody knows who transferred the money actually. So, that's one thing. And on here you see that Hamas's military wing, they're actually trying to use Bitcoin to get funds for illegal activities. So it's pretty concerning. And so money laundering using cryptocurrency is another area where law enforcement needs to step in and needs to stop that. And that's where we need more cryptocurrency forensics happening, like more digital forensics and the money trails. So here are some of the instances listed. So web money is a portal where somebody created fake accounts and earned money from carding activities or gaming activities. That's one of the way to do money laundering and stuff. And in June 2010, about there were about 3,000 online membership accounts created using 16,000 bank accounts, and like they obtained fraudulent funds from victims for non-existent auction items. So it's basically the items don't exist, but you wire money or you wire cryptocurrency, and the items never reach you. So I think it was Virginia recently, maybe 3 weeks ago or something. There was like the most wanted person for Virginia was a person who committed coupon fraud using cryptocurrency. So they generated fake coupons for stores. Like they could generate it for any store. It's like editing, and they accepted cryptocurrency in exchange. They used to send coupons to people, and they used to sell them as legit, and then they used to get cryptocurrency in exchange, and they just ran off with it. The coupons never worked, so that was one of the scams that recently happened here.
How long did that scam have to run for them to make such a significant portion of money?
That is a good question. I'm not sure, but what I know is they did make a few millions out of it. So
Jesus. Like I mean, you can't help but wonder like how long it took them to get there. And
yes,
part of me makes me think like how many people did they have to defraud before enough
right,
people reported them
right,
that this like you know made it to the top of the like somebody's desk.
right, right. That's right. I don't know how much time it took, but it's probably a bunch of naive people and a bunch of people who did not use their store coupons in time to report those people.
Jeez. Oh man, that's insane.
Yeah. So here are some of the other cryptocurrency scams we have, some ICO exit scams and other stuff. And so that's like about $115 million in phishing, 103 in exploitation, and 7.4 in hacks. 4,000 about Ponzi schemes, which is pretty low. And on at the bottom, you see these are the one of the like three of the biggest cryptocurrency scams that happened in the past few years. So another issue with cryptocurrency is that cryptocurrency in itself is not dangerous. It's the things that go over it make it more dangerous, like uh, anonymizing techniques, or if you're using private networks, or if you're trying to basically um, do illegal activity with cryptocurrency. That's where it becomes dangerous. Like besides that, in itself, it's basically a decentralized ledger that is there for people who want privacy in terms of their transactions. So you can argue that the transactions are up there on the web and they're available for everyone to see, but nobody can actually decipher who did the transaction. So that's where the anonymity lies, and people want to be anonymous. But if people start doing wrong stuff with it, that's where issues happen. And currencies like dark coin have used dark send. That's the algorithm they use, the mixing technique. So if you need to send like 55.3 dark coins to somebody, so they would split up the transaction into multiple transactions and send it through a mixing technique in such a way that transactions that come out on the other side are of different amounts, and then they're combined together and sent to the payee. So nobody beyond this point, like beyond the exchange, the mixing area, know what's going on. So if there's a transaction of, so this user might say, I just did a transaction of 55.3 dark coins, but the actual transactions that happened on the network were 55, 0.05, and 0.25. So nobody would actually be able to link those transactions back to a user. And a lot of times when we don't know who the other party is and we just know one address, we try to link someone based on the amount that was sent, but here even that's not possible. So a lot of people use mixing services and mixing techniques. I don't know, I'm not aware of all of them, but that's one of the things that concerns law enforcement, that makes cryptocurrency more anonymous.
Yeah, that's the irony of the whole situation is it's the blockchain is public ledger,
Right.
but it's all encrypted and like you said, anonymous, so it's not really public.
Hmm.
It's it's public, but you can't read it and you can't trace it.
Right.
How did so in situations like okay, so earlier we were talking about the colonial pipeline, and it's my understanding that their the ransom that they paid basically got tracked back down.
Yes. Yes.
How did that like how is that possible in this situation?
So, I'm not sure what exactly the hackers of the Colonial Pipeline were using, but what eventually happened was that there was a physical IP address that was linked to the address, the Bitcoin address, and FBI just knocked down that physical address. They knocked down that physical address, and eventually nobody was there. But I guess they went offline, and like they just seized their equipment or something, and then that's where they got the money back from. I'm exactly not sure what happened, but that's something, that's one way you can probably track down someone. If a physical address was identified, or like an IP address was identified pertaining to a blockchain address, or a Bitcoin address.
That's absolutely crazy. So they like for from your understanding, they went to the physical address and they seized the equipment that was there, and that's how they
So they
generated.
probably, yeah, I mean, what eventually happened was, and in case of Kaseya as well, I guess they just went offline once their IP was tracked. Probably the FBI released information about that we know about your physical location, and in case of Kaseya, they just went offline. But in case of Colonial Pipeline, they recovered stuff. I'm not sure exactly how, but yeah,
Mm, interesting.
yeah. And so we'll just dive right into the current state of cryptocurrency forensics before we end. And so this is basically a model which describes end-to-end digital forensics. What we basically do is acquire devices. There is a procedure for acquiring devices, and in case of law enforcement, teams are trained to like acquire devices in the right way. So while acquiring, maybe you want to get it off the network, probably not switch it off, whether it's a hot device or a cold device, and then um get it to the identification unit as soon as possible. Basically, get it to the right person who can analyze it. If there's a time constraint, you might need to have someone look at it immediately. If there isn't a time constraint, if the device is switched off, you can probably wait for a while. And That's basically the acquisition process. In case of identification, we'll try to identify what kind of evidence we're looking for. That there should be a physical context. Like if we have a case, if we have a homicide case, we might be looking for a particular set of evidence. And if there is a cryptocurrency case, we might be looking at a different set of evidence. And we put that in a logical context in terms of, okay, this particular evidence could be incriminating someone, and that's logical context. And that logical context definitely needs to go through a legal context, because every evidence that we get out of a digital device is not exactly admissible in court in that particular form, or we need to make it admissible so that like we have enough confidence on a particular kind of evidence, and that's where we move forward. We evaluate that evidence and see whether it's good enough to be presented in court, or good enough to incriminate someone, or did somebody really do it. And that's when the admission as evidence comes in, and it's just admitted in court as evidence. And again, there are different terms like admission as evidence in court and acceptability. So admission just means that the court accepted the evidence to be part of the case, whereas acceptability means that the jury and the judge, like, they need to decide whether this evidence is good enough to uh, like sentence someone or not. So this is basically the process that we follow in digital forensics. And there is definitely a lot of chain of custody, and we match the hashes when we transfer images, so that we know that we're working on the right thing. And that's where the hashing comes in when we need to present it in court.
What is that? What is the level of acceptability ish like right now? Like, what I mean, are we talking like 95% certainty or?
So acceptability is very, very circumstantial, because it depends on the case. It depends on what the evidence is, and it's so it can be admissible. It'll be admissible in court, but whether the jury accepts it or not, it's dependent on the jury how they interpret it. There are expert testimonies that happen, and like experts try to explain that to the jury, but again, it's acceptability is up to the jury. So it's all subjective.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That just like blows my mind that they're to the point of what does it take to convict? Because I mean, what does it take to get in front of the judge and be admissible into the court, and then on the off chance, it sounds like the jury leveraging evidence like that may depend a lot on how it's presented and the argument that's made for it.
Right.
That's the court of law. That's why there's lawyers that get paid big bucks to convince people that their side is right.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And there are experts out there specifically working on cryptocurrency forensics, and like whether something is acceptable or not. Um, but again, it's still dependent on expert testimonies and the jury. So there's a lot going on there. And laws aren't catching up as fast. So it's like somebody can just denounce this particular evidence and say, I don't think this evidence is correct, even
Where
after the expert
That,
testifies
that's
that evidence.
where have
yeah.
I
That's
heard
why
that before?
that's why chain of custody is such a big thing on these
Right.
cases too, right?
Yeah.
Is that if you don't have a proper chain of custody, you could be like, well, this was tampered with,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
And that's where
it,
the exact hashes come in. Like when we transfer a particular image to another analyst, we do the hashes to verify that we got the right image, and that's where we need to keep our chain of custody solid.
Have you participated in a case, like in a live case to this
Uh,
point?
I haven't participated in a live case, but we occasionally cater to emails from law enforcement on different groups. Basically, there are mailing groups that law enforcement come into for digital evidence, and we just talk about stuff there. So it'll be interesting to do that sometime, but I would never want to be like in front of a jury as an expert justifying what I did. Uh, if even if we do something, I'll not be the one doing that. We have people in the office. So yeah,
It'd be good to watch from the side though.
yeah, that's right. So so here are some like I'm sorry. Uh, so some iOS and Android, basically mobile artifacts of interest. Here we can see that Bitwallet or Coin Pocket, the app was basically downloaded, and there is an API or an identifier that exists pertaining to that that application, and like somebody might say that you can just have the same API as you can build your own app, have a third party thing, and have the same name as this API. So how do you say that the app in there, like what confidence do you have that the app in there, the API that you see in there is real or it's correct? First of all, we verify that the API that is supposed to be there for that particular app uh, exists online, and that's the API that's supposed to be there. But again, we said that the name is the same. So how do you verify that? So we try to verify the API hash, whether the API hash matches the one that is in the Play Store or it doesn't. If it doesn't, then we look into whether it was downloaded through a third party like Chrome or something, or was it downloaded from the Play Store, what exactly went behind, and those are the stuff that we look into. So once we establish that something was there, that's when we move forward and look into what exactly was in there. So, um, like here are some databases like the cache.db and the local storage for a particular application, which might contain some useful information. These screenshots would be from papers that were back in 2014 to 16, and since then mobile technology has changed a lot with a lot of encryption coming in and with a lot of security. So it's like you may or may not be able to get to this data in plain text, or you may not be able to get to the data at all. So and here, like you can see, you have Bitcoin wallet twice. The logs state that the first time it was installed and the second time it was searched. So in the searched items list, it could be there for any number of reasons, like somebody just searched for the app, somebody just opened the app, or maybe somebody did a transaction on the app. So in most of those cases, you'll have logs, and you can have a look at the logs and try to see what exactly happened with the application. So here's a timestamp, and you can probably tie this timestamp to a transaction, and from that timestamp, you can probably say that okay, the app was opened, and this is the timestamp for a transaction. So somebody who had the device at that time probably did a transaction. So that's where you try to understand okay, was a what kind of addresses were involved in it, and what was the transaction amount. It was the receiver address any of the malicious addresses like a darknet market or something, or any other thing, and that's where you start looking deeper. So here you can see these are some logs, and it says wallet received a pending transaction, and this is the transaction hash up till here, and spends 0 Bitcoin from our own wallet and sends us 0.0011 BTC. That's Bitcoin. And here are some more logs. So this is mostly like what we're doing in mobile forensics. And in case of computer forensics, here are some file structures that you can find in there. I'll just run through them quickly because I usually don't look into them. So, like the change state subdirectory would basically contain all the transactions, and the database subdirectory would contain the journaling files. So, journaling files are usually the files that. So, if you're aware of write ahead logging, that's where journaling comes in, and if there was cache, if there were write ahead log files which you can recover and use for evidence, that's great. But if the device was switched off, mostly the wall files would be gone. And yeah, here's some more files in the Bitcoin qt folder. So attribution tag or attribution tagging or attribution tag sharing is another aspect that exists in cryptocurrency forensics. So if an investigator takes a particular investigative action at a particular time on a particular set of addresses, like say there was a transaction that was involved in buying illegal stuff, and uh, that transaction they probably try to investigate that crime and investigate that transaction. And once they do investigate it and they find somebody guilty of a crime, what they do is they take the addresses involved in that transaction and they put it in like in a trace, and they form a hash out of it so that nobody can change that address, or nobody can like tamper with that that tagging address. And then after tagging that address, they'll assign an attribution to it, basically stating that this address was involved in a transaction that had a person who was convicted for buying something on the darknet. So that is how they start tagging addresses, and they form a database where uh, all the malicious addresses are there. And if you want to share the cluster, so if you want a cluster that is pertaining to only like darknet markets, you can find a cluster where you can get all of the information or all of the addresses pertaining to that. And if any of those addresses resurface, you can probably look into that and state that okay, this was a darknet address or somebody transacted to the darknet, and that's how. And if somebody did a tax fraud, that would be another cluster of addresses. Somebody did anything else, maybe like money laundering, that would be another cluster. And that's how uh, people are looking into this. I would like to conclude and state that cryptocurrency or blockchain is not inherently dangerous, and its uses are varied. And you could use it to store something that's useful to you, but you don't want anyone else to know about it. And you can do it safely because the whole network is verifying transactions, and the whole network is verifying whatever you put in the blockchain. And the other thing is that files, evidence, everything, like you can destroy stuff, but a blockchain is immutable. You cannot go back and change stuff. And that's where the difference comes in terms of maintaining the ledger for cryptocurrency, because a bank can go back and change something for an audit, but blockchain cannot. So whatever goes in there just stays in there. So that's pretty much it about what I have to say. So if you have any questions, most welcome.
So I have a question. And so, okay, in reference to blockchain and being referred to as disruptive technology, and specifically to the three different orders of blockchain, like the first one is financial, the second one is contracts, and then the third one is like everything else.
Right.
What, like, how do you see, I mean, specific to, we spend a lot of time talking about cryptocurrency, but how do you see blockchain like in use in other places and other industries, and how do you think forensics will apply to those?
Okay, so whatever we see, like I showed you an example block of Bitcoin, which was verified yesterday. So in the same way, so basically there are hashes involved. So the hashes pertain to whatever information was in there in the block or in a particular transaction, and those hashes are eventually verified. So, like in case of a contract, if you have a contract that needs to be up in the blockchain, the contract won't be publicly available, but the existence of the contract will be publicly available. So you won't be able to see what goes in there in the contract, but you still will be able to see that a contract between address X and address Y exists, maybe like company X and person Y. The contract exists, and you can state that, okay, this is acceptable because it was verified by the whole network that this contract exists. And that's where the decentralization and the peer to peer network is really trustable, because it's not just one person verifying, it's the whole world trying to verify one particular thing. And that's what adds it makes it legit. So
Do you expect, given the, I guess, abuse of cryptocurrency and blockchain on the illegal gambling and all these um, organizations, do you see a potential for like a blockchain blockchain version two where they, try to fix or reduce some of the potential abuses of it?
So uh, that is a good question because, as I said, blockchain is immutable and it is extremely difficult or maybe impossible to get content out of there once it goes in there. And blockchain is not only used to store like like any transaction or something. It's also used for, sometimes people are using it for illegal content, like in case of child abuse content that goes onto the blockchain and stays on there. From
Mm,
websites and other places, it's easy to delete that content, but from a blockchain you cannot just get that content out. So that's one of the issues that exists in there. And that's why everybody is concerned about blockchain becoming, or cryptocurrency or everything becoming a big thing, because it has its advantages and then it has its disadvantages because it's difficult to decipher what's going on. So
right. But like your example of the Merkle tree,
mhm.
instead of a Linux distro, it's some kind of, disgusting video or whatever, and so someone shares the main hash and
Right.
they can put it back together. Oh god, yeah, that's why I'm wondering is like, can, yes, it's emerging technology and it, can do a lot of good, but just like all emerging technology,
Yes.
there
Yeah.
people
It
or
does have its
organizations are going
drawbacks.
to abuse it, and it's, there's no perfect technology. We don't want to just stop making new technology and inventing new things because people are going to abuse it. But at the same
Right.
time, like if we can make it better at the same time, like, be win-win, I guess.
Right. Right. That's true. So it's like the level of anonymity you want, you can probably achieve that level of anonymity, but again, on the other side, law enforcement is trying to achieve whatever they can to like de-anonymize that and get to the culprits of whoever is doing the wrong. So
One of the things that blows my mind is I was recently reading about blockchain technologies for things like healthcare records
yes, yeah,
and giving the user, here's your healthcare record in your hand, and because you can't modify the record, there's
right,
nothing that you can do to corrupt your healthcare record. But then it's introduces a whole bunch of other questions about, like, well, I don't want my healthcare records to be publicly available, whether they're related, like linked to Jessica Butel or not.
right,
It's
right.
Mm.
That's right. So as far as like accessing like healthcare records or any transaction information from the, I'll take the example of Bitcoin blockchain. So there's something called as quintessential, which is I guess like maybe 10 to the power. Um, Let me get it. It's probably 10 to the power 50 or something. I don't know. So it's that many digits in there. Like it was, quintessential was probably just invented to satisfy the addresses in blockchain. So basically, if if we like I saw this analogy in a video. So it's the drawer analogy. So if you leave out a drawer in the open and you put your records in it, somebody would come and open the drawer. It's an insecure drawer, it has no password. Somebody would just come and open the drawer and get your information out of there. So if you have like, if you just keep on increasing the number of drawers, say you have like 2000 drawers, people would have to like go through 2000 drawers to find that one drawer that's the right one and get your information out. So in case of uh, like in case of Bitcoin, it has like quintessential drawers. Like you you'll have to, so just to put that into perspective, if 7 billion people on the earth have like open 1 billion drawers a day for 365 days a year for the next 100 years, they'll only be able to open 260 sextillion drawers. That's just 216 to 10 to the power 21. And then that's the number of like grains on the earth. So to secure it even more, they went manifold and they did like 10 to the power 58, and that's quintillion. So now your question would be like, if somebody gets lucky and they hit the drawer in the first time, what would you do? So that's where security and stuff comes in terms of adding passwords or adding a maybe. So they have like 25 digit seed words, like they're not 25 digit, they have 25. There's a sentence, a complete sentence which is disconnected, so it's like maybe 25 seed words, and you can use those seed words to recover your wallet. And if somebody gets to your seed words, they can just recover your wallet and have all the money you have. So it's like a trade-off between whether an attack can happen, or whether how you can prevent an attack, and it's a lot of things going on in there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have a question.
Yeah.
So, and this just occurred to me when you're talking about things, and this goes obviously beyond just like healthcare records, but the contracts.
Right.
What happens if someone figures out a way to like fake an addendum to the contract? Like, so you're not going back trying
Mhm.
to modify already published blockchain, but you've now figured out how to fake and get like the acceptance of a addendum to the contract, or I've now gone in and modified someone's healthcare record to add a cancer diagnosis or
Right.
something equally as bad.
Hmm.
What is there a way to protect against something like that, or is there a technical control that would limit the ability for someone to be able to modify, like to add in an addendum, not necessarily modify what's already there,
Sure.
but add in an addendum to these blockchain technologies?
So I won't be able to directly answer it in the way you asked it. So I won't be able to say that, okay, if a cancer record was modified, but an analogy to cryptocurrency blockchain would be that if you're trying to double spend your coins, like if you have $1 to spend and you want to like you want to buy maybe a soft drink, and you transfer at $1 to the vendor of the soft drink, and at the very same time you initiate a transaction that goes to another wallet owned by you. So in that case, it's a double spend issue, because you send that coin or send that dollar to the vendor, and you send that dollar to yourself. So when that transaction goes to a block and the block gets verified, so one of those transactions would be dropped. So you would be thinking that, okay, you would be wishing that the transaction that drops is the one going to the vendor and you get your dollar back. It could happen, but it's like one of those transactions would be dropped and you won't be able to double spend. So in most of the times, the vendor would get their money, and for maybe like $1, nobody would be going around and doing that, like the same transaction at the same time. But for maybe like a higher amount, that could happen. And again, the dynamics of it, or what goes in the background, I'm still not totally aware of it, so I'm not sure, but this is how we can prevent it.
That's mind blowing. Thank you for
Yeah,
that response.
sure. Any other questions or comments?
One of the thought I had toward the end of your presentation, where you're talking about some of the screenshots of forensics, like from mobile apps and stuff,
Mhm.
is there any, like you said, there's not a lot of laws around it. Is there any kind of, is it up to the app developer to build in some of those logs and things you showed, or is there any kind of mandate that says you have to log this amount of information or anything?
So So I guess one of the mandates these days is privacy for the customers,
Mm.
not in terms of law enforcement. So everything should be encrypted, I guess. And in some cases we can probably get past it, but in other cases we cannot.
Mm.
And logs are basically part of it. So each app you have on your device would probably have a log. It'll be logging all the events, like you click on a particular icon, you scroll or you swipe, it'll all be logging in a particular file. So it all exists in there. And again, the if we talk about the file structure may have some open files to view, like the logs, and
Mhm.
it might have maybe the transaction amount stored, not the public, not the private key, but just the transaction amount. And you might have to put that into perspective, looking at other evidence pertaining to that timestamp. So yeah, I don't know of any development rules that are there for a particular app to have or not have, but the rules definitely exist, but I'm not aware of those.
Right.
So yeah.
And those logs are not immutable like the blockchain is, so it's kind of a crapshoot about how dependable they are if they are there.
Right, right,
Mm.
yeah. And if something wrong gets in there, even that stays in there. So
What is what does the job market look like for someone that's in, I mean, I know that you mentioned before that, you know, it's increasing, but realistically, like who is going to employ someone who does blockchain forensics?
okay, so in terms of blockchain forensics, I'm particularly working on digital forensics. Blockchain forensics or cryptocurrency forensics is pretty wide, because there would be financial analysts, there would be experts about blockchain, there would be experts about digital evidence and all that stuff. So in terms of what I do, there are a lot of firms out there that hire digital evidence experts and to do research and probably add capabilities to tools, to forensic tools like mobile forensics tools and computer forensic tools. So that's one thing. And the other is someone like, maybe I'm just aware of Chainalysis, who does actual like monitoring of blockchain, and if you want to like find some evidence related to a financial crime, they'll go through the blockchain and like follow the money trail and try to get to the exact person. But then, so that's one of the firms. So if you are a financial analyst, or and maybe some into digital, then you can probably work for Chainalysis or someone like that. And then I know that there exists someone called as the Blockchain Group, probably up in Canada, who have an end-to-end solution. Like if you want to include blockchain into something, if you want to or cryptocurrency into something, or if you want to follow a money trail, or if you have any other services that they have to offer, then in those cases they have different kinds of experts working for them. So you can just be a certified cryptocurrency forensic analyst and go in there. And I'm not sure what all it would take to do it, but yeah, that's the basic thing that I know.
What's your thesis going to be on?
It's a good question. Like, because I started working on like looking into Samsung Knox. They have their own security solution, hardware and software all together. So that is something that was already being done, like in a different format, but like it was bootloaders, so it was in a different format. So I had to just drop that, and I started looking into like cryptocurrency forensics, and that's interesting. So that could be potentially my thesis. I mean, it probably would be, because that's what I'm working on. But in a course of PhD, you never know what happens. So, oh yeah, that's right. PhD is dissertation, master's is
Hmm.
yeah.
Jessica just got accepted and has started her first PhD classes, so we give her a hard time.
It's a doctoral of science. It's not a
Let's
PhD. I'm not
Wait,
going to be as good.
the doctor got this
let's
wrong? Got the terminology wrong?
let's be clear.
Burn.
Let's be clear. We don't just give Jessica a hard time because of her pursuits in higher education. It's
That is
also
true.
because she's a member of Colasec.
Okay.
No, I'm and Jeff, you missed the part where grilled him in the beginning to see if he was published yet, because I was going to try and ride on some coattails.
Ah, give him time.
Yeah, I
We got
hope
to get
so.
you to get a poster in the security office, Sahil.
Oh, that's right. I can do that.
Yeah, we need a crypto blockchain poster in the security office.
That's right. I can probably get started on working on one. Are you done with your work?
Yeah, we got finished and
Oh,
got back to the hotel. We're both exhausted.
oh, okay. Yeah. Probably
Standing in
go
a
for
data
lunch
center
tomorrow.
for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But it sounds like it went very well.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's
No,
good.
it's a
At
great
least.
presentation. I was able to follow 90% of it.
Oh, okay.
It some of the crypto math is just kind of bonkers to me, and
Right.
like I get all of the pieces, and then you assemble all of them, and my brain just sort of shuts down.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
just want to like. I hate the way they call it. I mean, I get it, but disruptive technology. I hate that word.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dylan doesn't like it either. Great presentation though. My son's clapping for you.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you for
Thanks
this.
to
Was like this is super exciting because it totally lines up with one of my classes. So,
Okay. That's good. What class is it?
uh, disruptive technologies.
Okay. Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for
but
having me.
I'll tell you this, I think I learned way more from your presentation than I did from reading like really dry journal articles.
Right, right. So
So,
like, reading a lot about it and watching videos and making sense of it all together, it's very difficult. It took me like multiple iterations to go through the same stuff and try to understand what's going on. I still don't understand what's going on. So
Yeah, that's the hard part, and I'm sure it's frustrating for you as well. Is like
yeah,
blockchain and crypto is already confusing enough, and you're
right,
trying like some other forensics like digital forensics. There's some amount of just overall general experience that we all have with smartphones and computers. Like,
right.
yes, they're way more technical than we like to, think we
That's yeah,
understand.
that's
But crypto and blockchain is like so much more mysterious and just in how it works, and then trying to do forensics on top of that, it's just
right.
mind-boggling. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's the fact that you've even taken this much effort to get into it and try to understand it and learning it is impressive.
Thanks. So like I didn't include anything on mining or private keys, public keys, wallets because like even generating a private key is a separate algorithm, public key is a separate algorithm, and then mining is altogether a separate algorithm, and that too for Bitcoin it's one algorithm, for Monero it's another. So for each cryptocurrency it's a different hashing algorithm, different mining
Mm.
algorithm.
And
So
that's all the time we have. Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry for yeah,
Yeah, that's very interesting stuff.
sure,
Cool.
yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks for
much.
presenting.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks
Mhm.
everybody for listening in on the stream and on the chat. And we'll see you guys again next month.